Stop. Mute the chart. Close the Twitter tab. Because in the next 24 hours, the single most important silver number of 2026 is going to print live on the COMEX tape. And 95% of the financial press is going to look the other way when it does. As I record this on Wednesday, April 29th, 2026, the math is already locked in. Roughly 17,984 May silver contracts sat open at yesterday's close. That is approximately 89.9 million ounces of paper silver standing into first notice day tomorrow morning. And the number is moving fast because more than 8,000 contracts walked off in a single session just the day before. By the time you finish this video, that figure is almost certainly lower. The question is how much lower, and what the residual tells us about who is actually standing for metal. Now zoom out. Look across the entire COMEX silver futures complex. Every delivery month, June, July, September, the back end of the curve. Total open interest across all months runs roughly 550 to 575 million ounces of paper claims. Against that, registered silver, the metal that has a warrant attached and can be physically delivered tomorrow, sits at about 76 million ounces. That is a coverage ratio of roughly 13 to 14%, below the 15% stress line for the sixth consecutive month. That is the 13.4 trap, not the May contract alone, the entire paper system, priced against a vault that has flatlined. And while every anchor on financial television who called silver a bubble at $121 in January is now telling you the 40% correction proves the move is finished, registered inventory has stopped refilling. Shanghai is reportedly trading at a 12% or higher premium to Western spot, and somebody large enough to matter is refusing to roll their longs. If you already feel that combination in your gut, you don't need me to spell it out. If you don't yet, give me the next 10 minutes. I'll walk you through 3 live triggers, 3 falsifiable predictions, and the one inventory number that, if it prints below 70 million ounces this week, breaks the model the West has used to price silver for 40 years. Quick favor before the data. Drop your stacker city in the comments below. Houston, Manchester, Mumbai, Phoenix, Brisbane, Lagos, wherever you are. The YouTube algorithm decides whether this video reaches 5,000 people or 500,000, and your 3-second comment is the deciding vote. Type your city. Let's see how big this so-called fringe actually is in 2026. Here's the story Wall Street is selling this week. Silver got too hot at 121.67 on January 29th, the all-time nominal high. It corrected hard. Today, spot silver is trading in a range of roughly $71.68 to $73.61, with the June futures contract printing closer to $74.68. Therefore, the polished narrative goes, the move is over. Therefore, you should sit on your hands and wait for $50 to come back. That is the version your brother-in-law will repeat at the next family barbecue. Now here's what actually happened under the hood. Silver corrected because the CME hiked initial margin in the middle of the January rally, which mechanically forced leveraged longs to liquidate paper at any price. Silver lease rates ripped above 7%. SLV has bled billions in net outflows year to date, but those redemptions are not bearish flows. Authorized participants have been pulling 50,000-ounce baskets out of the trust, converting shares into physical bars, and walking that metal into private allocated storage where the COMEX cannot touch it. That is the textbook signature of a quiet bank run on a fractionally reserved trust. While New York runs $73, multiple dealer reports indicate Shanghai is trading at a 12% or higher premium. Even if you take that softer, the direction is unambiguous. Chinese physical buyers have been paying significantly more than Western paper for the same metal. China imported 836 tons of silver in March alone. India's silver imports are at multi-year highs. Western bullion dealers, the kind that went temporarily offline back in February, are still quoting widening premiums on retail coins and bars. The Silver Institute's World Silver Survey 2026, published April 15th, confirmed a 6th consecutive annual deficit, projected at 46.3 million ounces, and confirmed that 762 million ounces have been drawn from above-ground stockpiles since 2021. That is nearly a full year of global mine output, gone in 5 years. China's January 1st export controls on refined silver fragmented global supply at the start of this year, and that pipeline has not normalized. This is the picture nobody on financial television is willing to draw on the chart for you because their advertisers don't pay them to. Now to the only 3 things you actually need to watch this week. Trigger 1. The registered inventory print. Registered COMEX silver sits at roughly 76 million ounces this morning. Several individual April sessions saw 1.8 to 3.15 million ounces leave the vaults in a single day with almost no offsetting inflows. If we drop below 70 million ounces before Memorial Day, coverage on total open interest falls under 12%. At that level, a single well-capitalized fund with a few hundred million in dry powder can call for delivery and stress the entire deliverable pool. That is not a conspiracy take. That is third-grade arithmetic anyone can do on the back of a CME warehouse report. Trigger 2. The Fed decision today, April 29th. CME Fed Watch is showing roughly 99.8% probability. The Fed holds at 3.50 to 3.75%. Nobody is debating the rate. What matters is the language at Powell's 2:30 p.m. Eastern press conference. This is his final FOMC as chair before Kevin Warsh takes over on May 15th. One sentence acknowledging that a Strait of Hormuz reopening would open a path to cuts later in 2026, and gold and silver both punch through near-term resistance within the hour. Silence on that conditional, and the ceiling holds another few weeks. Either way, the supply picture under spot does not change. Trigger 3. Q1 GDP at 8:30 a.m. Eastern tomorrow, April 30th. The same morning May contracts hit first notice day. The Atlanta Fed's GDP Now model has been trending down sharply from over 3% in February, as the Iran oil shock has fed through the macro data. With CPI elevated, oil parked above $100 because the Strait of Hormuz remains shut, and consumer sentiment cracking, a soft GDP print confirms stagflation. Stagflation is historically the strongest macro environment for physical precious metals in modern memory. You don't have to take my word for any of this. Bank of America has published a scenario analysis suggesting silver could trade north of $300 per ounce if the gold-silver ratio compresses toward historical extremes. That is a bull case scenario, not a base case, but the fact that a major Wall Street commodity desk is putting that number in print at all tells you the institutional conversation has shifted. The current ratio sits around 62 to 1, already below its long-run average of 70. J.P. Morgan, yes, the same J.P. Morgan that paid $920 million in DOJ fines for spoofing this exact market, has its 2026 average silver targets above where the screen prints today. When the bank that ran the precious metals desk is publishing average price targets above current spot, you are not watching a bubble pop. You are watching a managed disconnect between paper and physical that cannot mathematically last forever. The Bank for International Settlements has confirmed total silver derivatives now stand at multiples of all mineable above-ground supply. That is the textbook definition of a fractional reserve commodity market, and history is unambiguous about how those resolve. 3 calls: specific, dateable, falsifiable. If I'm wrong, you can come back to this comment section and roast me. Forecast 1. By the close of business tomorrow, May contracts standing for delivery should compress further as remaining longs roll. If the residual number lands above 50 million ounces still standing, historically rare, expect CME to issue an emergency margin notice, an EFP transfer requirement, or worst case, language about an orderly market within 72 hours. That phrase is the tell. When exchanges describe a market as orderly, they are managing a panic. Forecast 2. If spot silver holds the $72 zone through Friday's close and Eastern premiums stay strong, the next leg targets the mid-80s inside 30 days, with $95, the prior breakout zone, acting as the magnet by midsummer. A clean break under $72 with conviction opens a quick trip towards $61 before any durable move back above $80. Forecast 3. Regardless of what spot does this week, registered COMEX inventory continues to bleed. We will print a registered number under 70 million ounces before Memorial Day. That print pushes coverage on total open interest below 12% and accelerates the timeline on every other thesis on this list. 2 asks before you click off. First, in the comments, drop your call. Where does May open interest settle by tomorrow's close? Above 50 million ounces is a delivery-defiant scenario. 25 to 50 is a stressed but orderly roll. Under 25 is the cleanest managed exit they have engineered yet. The closest prediction gets a public shout-out in the next update. Second, hit subscribe and share this video with exactly one person who still believes the number on Kitco's homepage is the same thing as a bar in an allocated vault. Just one. Because every awake stacker is one fewer bag holder when the rules quietly change at the top, and the rules always change at the top. Diamond hands don't sell at $80. They don't sell at $150. They don't sell at $300. Because rock beats paper over any long enough horizon. Because as long as nobody asks for the metal, the system always has it. Tomorrow morning at the COMEX Open, somebody is asking. I'll be back the second the May print hits the tape. Stay sharp, stay stacked, stay one move ahead of the financial press.